Good morning. I am Dr. James Whitaker from American Neurologist, and I want to start with something that is going to sound almost too simple to be true, but that has real science behind it. 3 types of nuts. Eaten daily, in specific amounts, for reasons that are distinct for each one, can meaningfully support testosterone production and maintenance in men over 60 in ways that research at major institutions has documented and published. Not dramatically, not like testosterone replacement therapy, but in the range of 20 to 40% improvement in free testosterone levels, which for many men is exactly the difference between feeling flat and tired and foggy and feeling like themselves again. I am not going to make this more dramatic than it is. Nuts are not magic. They will not transform your hormonal profile overnight. But they are one of the most underutilized, most research-supported, most accessible tools available for men over 60 who want to support their hormonal health through food. And the reason most men have never put them together in this specific combination, with the specific amounts and the specific reasoning behind each one, is simply that nobody has explained it to them clearly. Let me explain it clearly. The first nut is Brazil nuts. And the reason Brazil nuts matter for testosterone is selenium. Brazil nuts are the most concentrated dietary source of selenium on Earth. A single Brazil nut contains approximately 70 to 90 micrograms of selenium, which is essentially the entire recommended daily intake for an adult man in one nut. Why does selenium matter for testosterone? Because testosterone synthesis in the Leydig cells of the testes requires a series of enzymatic reactions, and several of those enzymes are selenoproteins, meaning they require selenium as a cofactor to function. Without adequate selenium, the enzymatic machinery that converts cholesterol into testosterone runs at reduced efficiency. Studies have found that men with selenium deficiency have significantly lower testosterone levels than selenium-sufficient men of the same age. And selenium deficiency is more common in American men than most people realize. The selenium content of American soil has declined over decades due to intensive agricultural practices, and the foods that used to reliably provide selenium now provide less of it than they once did. A study published in the Journal of Trace Elements in Medicine and Biology found that selenium supplementation in selenium-deficient men raised testosterone levels by an average of 26%. Brazil nuts provide selenium in a form that is highly bioavailable, organically bound selenium that absorbs and incorporates into selenoproteins more efficiently than inorganic selenium supplements. The dose is simple: 2 Brazil nuts per day. Not 10, not a handful, 2. Because selenium has a relatively narrow therapeutic window, you need enough, but too much over time can cause selenosis, which is selenium toxicity. 2 Brazil nuts per day keeps you in the optimal range for testosterone support without approaching toxicity territory. 2 nuts every day. The second nut is macadamia nuts. And the reason macadamia nuts matter for testosterone is their fat profile, specifically their exceptional concentration of monounsaturated fatty acids, particularly oleic acid. We talked in the last video about the relationship between monounsaturated fat intake and testosterone production. Macadamia nuts have the highest monounsaturated fat content of any nut, at approximately 77% of their total fat content. For comparison, olive oil, already celebrated for its monounsaturated content, is approximately 73% monounsaturated. Macadamia nuts actually exceed olive oil. The mechanism is twofold. First, monounsaturated fats are the preferred building material for Leydig cell membranes, and healthy Leydig cell membrane structure is essential for the cell's ability to respond to luteinizing hormone, the pituitary signal that tells them to produce testosterone. Second, monounsaturated fat intake has been shown to reduce SHBG levels, the binding protein that locks up free testosterone and renders it biologically inactive. A study in the Journal of Steroid Biochemistry and Molecular Biology found that men who replaced saturated fat in their diet with monounsaturated fat showed significant reductions in SHBG over 12 weeks and corresponding increases in free testosterone. The dose is a small handful, approximately 1 ounce, which is roughly 10 to 12 macadamia nuts. Not a whole bag. 1 ounce, daily, as part of a meal or as a snack. At that amount, macadamia nuts add approximately 200 calories, primarily from healthy fat, and provide meaningful monounsaturated fat support for testosterone maintenance. The third nut is walnuts, and walnuts work differently from both Brazil nuts and macadamia nuts. Walnuts are the only nut with a significant concentration of alpha-linolenic acid, which is a plant-based omega-3 fatty acid. Omega-3 fatty acids reduce systemic inflammation, and systemic inflammation is one of the most consistent suppressors of testosterone production in men over 60. Inflammation activates the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, the stress response system, which in turn elevates cortisol. And cortisol and testosterone are hormonal opposites. Elevated cortisol suppresses testosterone production at the level of both the hypothalamus and the testes. By reducing the inflammatory load that drives cortisol elevation, omega-3 fatty acids create a hormonal environment more conducive to testosterone maintenance. But walnuts do something else for testosterone that is specific and surprising. They are one of the few foods that contain meaningful amounts of a compound called gamma-tocopherol, which is a form of vitamin E. A study at UCLA published in 2020, examining diet and hormonal profiles in healthy older men, found that walnut consumption was associated with significantly lower SHBG levels compared to men who did not eat walnuts. The researchers attributed this partly to the omega-3 content and partly to the specific tocopherol profile of walnuts. Whatever the precise mechanism, the SHBG lowering effect of walnuts complements the SHBG lowering effect of macadamia nuts, meaning the two together produce a more meaningful increase in free testosterone than either does alone. The dose for walnuts is also approximately 1 ounce daily, about 14 walnut halves. And there is one important thing about walnuts I want you to know. Buy them raw and whole, or buy them raw in halves. Pre-ground, pre-packaged walnut pieces that have been sitting in a bag for months, the omega-3 fats in walnuts are highly susceptible to oxidation, meaning they go rancid when exposed to air and light over time. Rancid omega-3 fats do not provide the anti-inflammatory benefit. They may actually contribute to oxidative stress. Buy fresh walnuts, keep them in a sealed container in the refrigerator, and consume them within 2 months. This is the one common mistake I mentioned. Men buy a large bag of pre-packaged walnut pieces, leave it in the pantry, and eat oxidized nuts for months, wondering why they are not seeing any benefit. Let me tell you about Gerald. Gerald is 65 years old, a retired commercial airline pilot from Sacramento, California. Gerald had spent his career passing rigorous physical and cognitive examinations every 6 months. He was highly attuned to changes in his own physical and mental performance. That attunement had been professionally required for decades. At 63, after retiring, he noticed changes he had not seen in his active career years. Energy lower than expected. Mental sharpness slightly reduced. The gym sessions he had maintained for 20 years were producing less visible result for the same effort. His testosterone panel, when he requested one, showed total testosterone of 388, low normal, and free testosterone of 7.4, which was below the optimal range for a man his age. Gerald did not want hormone replacement therapy. He had colleagues who had used it, understood the monitoring requirements and the long-term considerations, and preferred to explore nutritional approaches first. His endocrinologist, who was more open to nutritional medicine than most, mentioned selenium, monounsaturated fats, and omega-3s in the context of testosterone support. Gerald, being Gerald, researched the specific foods and landed on this exact combination. 2 Brazil nuts, 1 ounce of macadamia nuts, 1 ounce of fresh walnuts every day. He also addressed his vitamin D, which was at 22 nanograms per milliliter, well below optimal, with supplementation. At his 4-month follow-up, Gerald's total testosterone had risen to 461. His free testosterone was 11.2, a 51% increase from baseline. His SHBG had dropped from 58 to 43. His endocrinologist told him those were meaningful numbers for a nutritional-only intervention. Gerald told me he felt the difference before the blood work confirmed it. More energy at 6 weeks, clearer thinking at 8 weeks, gym results returning at 12 weeks. Let me tell you about Douglas. Douglas is 70 years old, a retired dentist from Tampa, Florida. Douglas had a different starting point from Gerald. His testosterone decline had been more gradual and his symptoms less acute, but he had a strong family history of cardiovascular disease and was looking for every edge he could find for long-term hormonal and cardiovascular health simultaneously. He had read that testosterone and cardiovascular health are interconnected, which they are, with low testosterone being independently associated with increased cardiovascular risk, and he was looking for approaches that served both goals at once. Douglas started the three-nut combination not primarily for testosterone symptoms, but for cardiovascular protection through hormonal optimization. What he found, at 6 months, was that his free testosterone had risen substantially, that his triglyceride levels had improved, that his HDL cholesterol had increased, and that he had lost 4 pounds of abdominal fat without changing anything else about his diet or exercise. The hormonal improvement, the cardiovascular improvement, and the body composition improvement were all interconnected because testosterone, visceral fat, insulin sensitivity, and cardiovascular risk are all part of the same metabolic web. Improve one, and you tend to improve the others. Douglas told his wife, who is also a retired healthcare professional, that he wished he had known about the walnut-SHBG connection 20 years ago. She told him to stop being dramatic and eat his nuts. The practical daily protocol: 2 Brazil nuts with breakfast, 1 ounce of macadamia nuts, 10 to 12 nuts, as a mid-morning or mid-afternoon snack, 1 ounce of fresh raw walnuts, 14 halves, with lunch or dinner. All 3, daily, consistently. Give it 8 to 12 weeks before evaluating your energy, your mental clarity, and if you can access blood work, your free testosterone and SHBG levels. Most men notice the energy and mental clarity changes before any blood work confirms them, because free testosterone rises before total testosterone, and because the cellular effects of improved free testosterone on mitochondrial function and brain function are relatively rapid once hormonal signaling improves. One final thing: do not salt your nuts. Buy them raw and unsalted. Excess sodium intake elevates SHBG, partially counteracting the testosterone-supporting effect of the nuts themselves. And do not roast them at high heat, particularly the Brazil nuts and walnuts. High-heat roasting damages the selenium compounds in Brazil nuts and oxidizes the omega-3 fats in walnuts. Raw is best for all 3. Keep them refrigerated once opened. And do not substitute any of the 3. Each one works through a different mechanism, and the combination produces a synergistic effect that individual substitutions do not replicate. 2 Brazil nuts, 1 ounce of raw macadamia, 1 ounce of fresh raw walnuts, every day. That is the entire protocol. It costs less than $2 a day. It takes no preparation, and the research behind it, while not as dramatic as pharmaceutical testosterone replacement, is solid, replicable, and grounded in well-understood mechanisms. If this video helped you, please hit like and subscribe. Leave your age and city in the comments. I want to know where the men watching this are starting from. Share this with a man who has been told his testosterone is normal but does not feel normal. His doctor may be looking at the right test, but the wrong number. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one.